The invasion of the Japanese 14th Army, which began in December 1941 and was led by General Masaharu Homa, had already forced General MacArthur's troops from Manila, the Philippine capital, into Bataan, in part because of poor strategizing on MacArthur's part.
The Battle of Bataan began January 7, 1942 and continued until April 9 when the USAFFE Commander Major General Edward P. King Jr. surrendered to Colonel Moto Nakayama of the 14th Japanese Army at Bataan, Philippines, against General Douglas MacArthur's orders, and 78,000 troops or 66 Filipinos and 12,000 Americans, the largest contingent of U.S. soldiers ever to surrender, are taken captive by the Japanese. Lieutenant General Masaharu Homa and his staff encountered almost twice as many captives as his reports had estimated, creating an enormous logistical challenge. The transport and movement of over 60,000 starved, sick, and debilitated prisoners and over 38,000 equally weakened civilian non-combatants that had been caught up in the battle. The prisoners and refugees had to be moved north to get them out of the way of Homa's final assault on Corregidor. Following the surrender of Bataan on April 9, 1942, to the Imperial Japanese Army, prisoners were massed in Mariveles and Bagak town. As the defeated defenders were massed in preparation for the march, they were ordered to turn over their possessions. The prisoners were at once led 55 miles from Mariveles on the southern end of Bataan Peninsula to San Fernando on what became known as the Bataan Death March.
At least 600 Americans and 5,000 Filipinos died because of the extreme brutality of their captors, who starved, beat, and kicked them on the way. Those who became too weak to walk were beyond them. During the march, prisoners received little food or water and many died. Prisoners were subjected to extreme brutality, to severe physical abuse, including being beaten and tortured. On the march, the sun treatment was common form of torture. Prisoners were forced to sit on sweltering direct sunlight without helmets or other head covering. Those who have survived were taken by rail from the San Fernando to POW camps where another 16,000 Filipinos and at least 1,000 Americans died from disease, mistreatment, and starvation. After the war, the International Military Tribunal established by MacArthur tried Lieutenant General Huma Masharu, commander of the Japanese invasion forces in the Philippines. He was held responsible for the Death March, a war crime, and was executed by firing squad on April 3, 1940.
The Japanese military authority quickly organized a new government in the Philippines through an established Council of State, which redirected civilian affairs. After liberating the Philippines, the Japanese promised independence for the islands, which was implemented in October of 1943 with the formation of the Republic of the Philippines. While little more than a Japanese puppet government, the appointed President Jose P. Laurel was never accepted by the populace, and even survived an assassination attempt, being shot 4 times. During the occupation and the Republic period, a government in exile was maintained and a strong underground resistance and guerrilla movement spread across the islands, which were considered an auxiliary of the American Army. As the tide began to turn in the Pacific, General MacArthur Allied forces launched an attack from Australia, landing on the island of Leyte on October 20, 1944. The Allied forces continued its push to the island of Mindanao and onward to Manila. Aided by the surging opposition and guerrilla forces, the intense fighting continued until the formal surrender of Japan on September 2, 1945.
September 3, 1945, General Yamashita Tomoyuki and Admiral Denshichi Okochi formally surrendered their forces at Camp John Hay, Baguio. Ranking officers of the U.S. Army attend, including General Jonathan Wainwright. No Filipino representatives are present, nor did any attend the previous days, signing of the surrender documents at Tokyo Bay. Surrenders of Japanese forces in other parts of the Philippines will take place over the following weeks, though it will be decades before the last Japanese holdouts emerge from hiding. Japanese soldiers are interned in prison camps, while civilians are gradually repatriated to Japan. Many officers and others accused of war crimes are held for investigation and trial, while others are expected to be sent back to Japan.